This is the simple follow framework that we've used to get 75%, 85% plus show rates on our calls. I actually want you to send a message, and you can copy and paste this exact one here. So this will definitely help your show rates. From what I've seen, and also what the objective data shows in the sales industries, whether you're in B2B sales, high ticket sales, online sales, the best sales teams are the ones that have. In October, we hired 2 new closers, both of which have brought in between $50,000 and $100,000 in new cash collected every single month at a 88.89% show rate, a 68.75% offer rate, and a 27.27% offer to close rate. Now, don't blame me if I can't remember those exact numbers off the top of my head, but those come directly from our reporting that they submit at the end of each day. Now, these 2 closures have allowed us to double our revenue, triple our ad spend, and almost entirely remove ourselves from the sales process. My business partner and I, we haven't taken a sales call in well over 6 months. Obviously, when we first launched the offer that we sell, we were on sales calls every single day for basically the entire day, 3, 4, 5, 6 sales calls every day, learning how to sell our offer best. But now we have a sales team, 2 closers, 4 setters that do all of it for us, that consistently bring in between $100,000 and $200,000 in new cash collected every single month without me or my partner ever having to contact leads, follow up with them, close them, onboard them, or collect cash from them. But it wasn't always like this, right? Just 1 year ago, I was genuinely questioning whether or not it was possible to build a sales team for this offer. Every single day, my partner and I would sit on a sofa just over there, and we would chat for hours about what we were doing wrong. What do we have to change in our marketing? What do we have to change about our sales process to make this work? We had gone through probably about 15 different closers, 25 different setters at this point, and all of which had left after 2 to 3 months. The churn was insane. Their show rates were absolute dog shit. 47.62% was the average in the time that we had this high churn sales team. Everybody on the team had low motivation, that they weren't submitting their end of days, they weren't training, they weren't doing call reviews, leads were left uncontacted for sometimes even weeks on our CRM. If you use Go High Level like we do and you go into the conversations tab, there were like 300 plus unread messages at a time. Pipelines were out of date. I had no idea what was going on. And to make things even worse, not only were the show rates bad, but the new cash collected was bad as well. Most of our closers were collecting on average $15,000 to $20,000 each in new cash collected every month, which is probably the exact reason why our churn was so high. And to make matters even worse, there was no way for us to improve it because every time we tried to make a change, they wouldn't follow it. Every time we tried to implement a script, they wouldn't follow it. And so because of all this, regular arguments on team calls were a problem. And overall, I hated running the sales team. My partner and I hated chatting with the sales team, and we just didn't really see any light at the end of the tunnel. And unknown to us at the time, we were quite literally a few small steps away, other than the talent, from unlocking that wildly profitable business that seemed so elusive to us at the time. And the root of our problem really was that we just weren't getting enough showed sales calls on our closers' calendars. And what this prevented them from doing was actually staying in their closing pocket, right? They would get onto a sales call and just assume that it wouldn't show. And when it did show, they would assume that it wasn't qualified. And because of this, it destroyed our sales process. They weren't able to close the qualified leads because they just, assumed they wouldn't show. So they showed up to the call with the wrong headspace. 50% of closing is a skill that you have. The other 50% is your internal condition. That's just not from me. That is from quite literally every single person in this space that has either run a sales team or closed well over $1 million in cash collected themselves as a closer. And because of all of that, it just started to destroy the motivation of our team day in, day out. And it trickled down all the way to the lowest level, right? Our setters and even our delivery team started to lose motivation. And not only was our sales team churning at a ridiculously fast rate, 2 to 3 months, but even people on our delivery team, the people that were in charge of delivering great results to the clients that did pay us, and those clients that were responsible for the rebills that were becoming a really large portion of our company's revenue, were starting to leave as well. And so what we really needed to do was figure out a way to just get those show rates up, get more qualified show calls per closer, bring that motivation back in the team, allow those closers to stay in their closing pocket, retain team members that were A+ talent for longer than 2 to 3 months, and really fix our problem from the ground up. And so what I want to do today in this video is hop into a Google Doc that basically breaks down all the changes that I made to our sales team, both from a sales process perspective, as well as scripting and also some of the connections and handoffs between marketing and sales that allowed us to take our show rates from 47.62% all the way up to, in December, 88.89% for our top closer. So without further ado, let's hop into it. All right, so we're going to run through this SOP today, which is both an SOP that I use for our internal sales team, the same one we use to take our show rates from 47% to around 87% plus, 88% plus this last December. But it's also the same SOP that our delivery team uses with the hundreds of B2B service-based businesses that we've worked with in the last 12 months to take their show rates from the similar 40, 50% up into more acceptable ranges of 65 to 80% plus. Now, the first thing I want to touch on here is that if you don't have your foundations covered before you do any show rate optimization, everything you do in your sales process, your nurture indoctrination sequences, all this stuff, it just won't work, right? Because a lot of what show rate is how does a customer feel throughout their purchase journey? Are they being handed off from marketing to sales the right way? Do they feel that everything is congruent? Do they have enough trust built with you to not only pick up the phone with a stranger, but also show up on a call with a stranger with the intention of potentially buying from them? So before we get into any actual show rate optimization strategies, I want to make sure that you guys check off these foundational requirements. And yes, if you're doing 50, 100K, 250K plus per month, this is still something that you need to check off, because I can't tell you how many businesses I've worked with that are doing 50, 100, 200K plus per month that still don't have some of these boxes checked. Right, so we're going to run through these quickly, and then we'll get into the show rate optimizations. So number one, are you using a indoctrination or pre-call nurture sequence? If you're working with us, you're probably using our Catalyst CRM snapshot. If not, you can probably build this yourself, or you probably have something along these lines. Basically, all we're looking for is, do you have meeting reminders, and are you sending your leads and prospects information about case studies you've done in the past or you've achieved in the past, the service that you guys provide, and any other important information / objections that they might have, and answering those questions up front. This is what we want to do in indoctrination. If you do have this, obviously make sure that you're verified for A2P. We want to make sure those text messages that we're sending our prospects and leads are actually appearing on their phone. And also making sure that you have a verified sending domain on your CRM for emails. So whether you're using high level or closed or something more advanced like Salesforce, just make sure that you're not using a domain that's burnt and that your emails aren't landing in spam, because this has been a huge reason why show rates have fallen off. And if you simply just check by testing your own funnel, you might find that this is a problem for you, because those offers with larger lead volumes will typically find that maybe you've sent a couple large database reactivations, or you're just getting so many leads opting in and canceling and opting out of your emails that it's starting to bounce and gets put into spam. Changing to a verified sending domain can sometimes be the single change that you need to take your show rates from shit to average or great. Once you've had this taken care of, obviously make sure you're using a objective templatized setting framework, right? If we don't have a setting framework and it's just flying by the seat of our pants, we're using the art of the close, the art of sales, it becomes challenging to actually identify, is the show rate problem a problem with the way that we're handling leads once we're on the phone with them as setters? Is it something to do with our marketing handoff? Is there something broken in our automations or our tech stack? I don't know. And so this is typically where we see a lot of drop off in show rates, right? We actually track at our company down to the individual setter or individual rep what their attributed set to show rate is, right? So I know for a fact that Juan has a 90% set to show rate this month, whereas I can look at a different setter and maybe they have a 40% set to show rate. Now I know that for them, it's not so much a matter of all these other problems in their tech stack. It's just like we need to work on their individual setting capabilities, because maybe they're pushing too hard on the setting call. Maybe they're creating a little bit too much sales resistance and qualifying too hard, and we should actually be backloading that into our closing call. So make sure you're using a verified objective setting framework, and that you're also booking same day, next day. This is a simple one. I don't even need to explain myself here. Don't book more than 48 hours out. Your show rates will drop off. Is your speed to lead under 90 seconds, right? This is important because most of the leads that actually need what you're doing are probably going to be too busy to book a call. Right, so we're looking at anywhere between 40 to 60% of our appointments being booked being self-books, and the other remaining 40 to 60% being manual sets from our setters. And so a lot of these manual sets we don't want to miss out on, and our show rates might actually be happening because we're only getting opt-ins and book a calls from people who have the time to book a call, right? And not the ones who actually need our help or qualify to work with us. So just make sure you have this speed to lead down, at least during working hours. And to supplement this, make sure you're using the right numbers, right? When you're actually dialing, let's say you have a 20-second speed to lead, is the number that you're dialing from appearing as spam likely, or is it ringing through as a real number? Self-explanatory. Quick way to check here is just take the number that you're dialing from, whether that's on your CRM or not, enter it into your browser and include dashes between the area code and the whatever the number looks like for you. Remove the dashes and include the dashes. And if a bunch of weird search terms and results appear with like random letters and numbers, it's probably been logged as spam. You can also try dialing yourself by downloading an app to dial yourself with. I would definitely recommend checking this out. If you've been dialing the same number, you have more than one setter dialing on that number, or even one setter that's doing a couple hundred dials a day, and they've been using it every single day, odds are it's probably bouncing to spam for quite a few of your opportunities or your leads. So quick win here is just make sure that you're switching your numbers every couple of days. You can do that in your CRM that you're dialing from, and make sure that every setter individually has their own number to dial from so that you don't get put in that spam likely category. Now, the other thing too is obviously we don't want to be dialing from toll-free numbers because I don't know about you, but I don't pick up toll-free dials. A lot of them are scams anyway, unless I'm expecting a call back from a bank or something. So just don't be dialing from toll-free numbers, buy real local numbers. That will help your pickup rates. Now, once you've taken care of all this, we want to make sure our marketing foundations are checked. Remember how I said our handoff is one of the most important parts? Is our marketing congruent, right? Is it trustworthy? And when I hand off or move as a lead from top of funnel marketing to, more middle of funnel marketing, or maybe even our sales process, right, where we start having setters calling, are we fulfilling on the promises that we make at the top of the funnel as we work our way down the funnel, right? So obviously you want to make sure you have a good offer. The offer creation framework we use is quite similar to Alex Hormozi's value equation, obviously with positioning, things like big head, long tail pricing, and also making sure that we're selling new opportunities as opposed to improvement offers, because new always sells better than better. Making sure your digital footprint looks nice. Sometimes show rates get fucked, but just because when you've set somebody, they go and do a little bit of research on you saying, okay, that was a pretty promising call. Let's take a look into this company. They search up you, they search your name up, they search your company name up, and your LinkedIn appears. It looks terrible. Your website looks like shit. Maybe you don't have any social media. Maybe you have a few reviews, but only a few are positive and one or two negative reviews are visible, right? These are all things that we need to really dial in so that when people do search, they're not dropping off because they're missing some kind of key part of information. And then, as we said, right, making sure that we're filling on the promises that we make in organic in our ads and on our landing page that we make in our ads and on the copy and the VSL on that landing page that we make in the headline in that landing page. And most importantly, fulfilling on those same promises once we get into our sales process, the setting and the sales call, right? Next thing after that is obviously making sure that we have a niche ICP. We're specifically calling out people that need our service. Marketing to everybody's marketing to nobody, right? So find out who can use your service best, who can benefit from it most, and really target your marketing toward them. And then making sure that you have pre-qualification booking forms, thank you videos, and next step instructions on your landing pages. I'm not going to go through these examples with you just because I think they're pretty straightforward. You can do a couple funnel hacks of our company if you'd like, or you can go into some of the other top players in the space and take a look at them. But this is not a funnel video. This is a show rate video. And obviously, last but not least, making sure that your funnel and your indoctrination features enough social proof and authority content to establish the trust required to have a conversation with a stranger and also hop on a second call with a stranger with the intent to potentially purchase something from them. So once we have all this taken care of, we can really move on to the most important part, which is our show rate optimizations. Now I'm going to talk about two things today. One is first call show rates, one is follow-up show rates. First call show rates are super important, but follow-up show rates, I would argue, are equally as important, right? I would say about 50% of your closes are going to come from people that have come through your pipeline 6 months or more into the past. And from what I've seen, and also what the objective data shows in the sales industries, whether you're in B2B sales, high ticket sales, online sales, the best sales teams are the ones that have the best follow-up show rates. So I'll show you how to do that using a framework that actually somebody who's much better than I am at sales taught me. So first and foremost, your booking and calendar optimizations, right? Before anybody even books a call, what are we doing to make sure we can maximize opportunities, right? This is mainly for people who are booking 3 to 4 appointments a day, are spending $500 a day in spend, right? If you're not doing this, you can still pay attention, but I wouldn't recommend implementing any of this quite yet. So the first thing here is switching from any sort of like native ClickFunnels forms or Go high level forms, whatever you're using for your funnels, that is sort of like a form that has all the questions all on one page, to a type form that allows you to click through. And it's more step-by-step, and it's individual question, then you click next and it slides to the next question. The reason why we do this is, I mean, from a psychology perspective, people just feel like they're more invested, and therefore they're more likely to complete and actually book on on your calendar. I would recommend doing this. I don't have the exact metrics from it, but we have seen upticks in completion rates on our forms just by doing this. The second thing is create a strong lead scoring system, right? And then segment your opportunities that are booking through self-books or booker calls based on a scoring system. We use 1 to 4. You can use names. Sales acceleration formula is a really funny one. They actually use names like Barry or Bob to name their 1 to 4. We just use 1 to 4 for ease. And once you segment them, we're just looking to segment based on different qualification, right? So first and foremost, obviously looking to make sure that they have a business that aligns with what we need and what we can service. Do they match your ICP? And do they have access to the capital to invest in whatever service or product you're proposing to provide, right? If they have these things, good, they can get on a call with us. If they don't, immediately, they're a 4, disqualified, remove them, don't even bother talking to them, they're gonna waste your time. If they are, now we wanna start segmenting them out into different kinds of ideal customers, right? For us, the top ideal customer would be somebody who's working or doing a B2B business that does over 50K a month, right? They have access to capital to invest in our service, awesome. That's a number one. A number two might have a business that's doing a little bit less revenue, 10K to 50K, and they still have access to that same capital to invest in our service. And third, they run a business in the past, so they're not currently doing any revenue, but they still have the capital to invest. So these are 3 very different kinds of buyers that need 3 very different kinds of nurture sequences, need 3 very different kinds of qualification, and also very likely a different kind of calendar, right? So once you do this, you can obviously go and adjust and make custom indoctrination and nurture sequences to help your show rates and pickup rates. But the most important thing here is just tracking your show rate down to each individual lead segmentation. So if you have a 67% show rate, or call it a 75% show rate on people who are scored number 1, you don't need to do anything. But if number 2 has a 60% show rate and number 3s have a 50% show rate, well, we got some work to do, because if a 3 or a 2 books a 1-hour slot in your calendar, odds are they might not show. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. You don't know, it's 50-50. So what we do here is, if they have below a 67% show rate, then we'll double book them. So all 2s and 3s, they get sent to a separate calendar if they're doing self-bookings, and it actually books 2 slots in the same area on a calendar. If you're on high level, you can do this easily. If you're on HubSpot, you can do this easily. Every CRM has its own calendar functionality. If not, you can use things like Calendly, and it'll make this easy for you. So just double book anything below 67% show rate. What this will do is just help you maximize the number of show opportunities without changing the number of opportunities you book on a day-to-day basis or the number of leads you get. You could probably take your showed calls from 3 to 4 a day to 5 to 7 a day just by making this simple change. So now that we have the booking and calendar optimizations out of the way, let's move on to somebody's already booked, and this is before their sales call or interview occurs. Right? This is for all leads, not just leads that opt in, but also for people that self-book. Booker calls that have made their own appointment on the calendar. So what we're gonna wanna do is confirm their call, right? Whether they're an opt-in, we're trying to set them, or a booker call, we're trying to triage them. We wanna make sure that they're qualified, we confirm their call, and they have everything they need and a reason to show up, building that value gap, that pain cycle. So what we're gonna do is a little bit different than just the standard workflow of let's double dial and then move on to the next. I actually want you to send a message, and you can copy and paste this exact one here. Hey, Noah, this is Daniel from Catalyst Holdings, just calling to confirm your interview. Send this on the CRM first, and then double dial them using your number that we verified up here, right? The reason why we're gonna do this is because if you ever received a phone call on your iPhone from somebody that you don't know, it'll probably just say phone number and then maybe location at the top, and that's basically it. If you say this, it'll actually look into your messages, and it might say, maybe Noah from Catalyst, which will help increase your pickup rates. So send this message first. You can copy and paste. It's super simple, super easy. Then double dial. And if it is a self-booking or a book a call and not just a lead, I would definitely recommend repeating this step again on WhatsApp. Most of the reason why people don't pick up and confirm their appointments is probably just because you didn't hit them enough times. On average, it takes 7 to 8 interactions or attempts to interact before somebody actually responds to you. And this is only 1, 2, 3, 6 different interactions. So you're still gonna have to keep following up after this. Make sure that you stay on them. Now that we've taken care of post-booking pre-interview workflows, let's move on to when do we cancel unqualified bookings or obvious no-shows. So we'll move on to offers spending $500 a day or more, or booking 5+ appointments a day in a second. But for all offers, we want to cancel all the appointments that are unqualified based on form responses. And for this, we're looking for primarily fake emails, fake phone numbers, or fake names. Like, we get some pretty funny ones sometimes coming through, but you can tell, right? If they have fake emails or fake phone numbers, fake names, immediately remove them. Don't waste your time on them. Spend your time with leads and opportunities that could actually use your help. The other thing you're looking for is, have they booked multiple previous appointments with you and no-showed? You can do this easily in your CRM just by checking their history, or that lead history. If they have, I would definitely recommend obviously trying to confirm first. And if they don't confirm, just remove them right away. We don't want them to waste our sales team's time again. Now, if you're spending over 500 a day, you're booking more than 5 appointments, this is a little bit of an additional thing for you, right? If the appointment doesn't pick up and their interview is booked in less than 24 hours, like let's say they've self-booked and it's for tomorrow at 5 p.m. and I'm calling to triage them as a setter, what you're gonna do is cancel their appointment right away in the CRM. We're gonna open up that slot for somebody else who's a little bit more qualified. And then we're just gonna send them a quick message via either both the CRM and the WhatsApp, or one or the other. Basically, you're saying, hey, Noah, I've tried ringing you a few times and sent over a few messages to confirm your interview, but I never heard back from you. Given we receive over 6,000 applications a month, you can just replace this with the number of leads you get. I've canceled your interview to make room for applicants who have confirmed. If you're interested in rescheduling, when's the next best time to ring you to schedule it in? Right? What we're doing here is basically a combination of a going dark message, which has a 75% response rate, if you look at metrics across the industry, and also trying to prompt a response so that we can actually get a showed opportunity. There's about a 95% correlation between people who respond within 24 hours just over text, not even on the phone, and them actually showing up to an appointment, right? Because more than anything, people want to be perceived as consistent. So this is a really easy way for them to be perceived as consistent, and also kind of be like, oh shit, I feel bad for not confirming. I actually did want that interview. Let me get that scheduled again. So cancel them. I know it's going to feel weird. This is going to maximize the number of opportunities you have. Trust me, in the long term, this will benefit your team more than it hurts it. Now, we've confirmed the call. We've done the pre-interview workflow, right? We've optimized our calendar. What next? We're going to create a personalized three-way WhatsApp intro with your closer, or just create a WhatsApp group with yourself if you don't have setters. The reason we do this is, again, we want to be able to have a communication channel that's easy to respond on and prompts those personalized responses so we can maximize our show rates. So just create a group and label it the appointment first name, X your name, dash your company name, and then interview or a closing call, whatever you want, whatever you call your calls. Then I want you to send a voice note. Introduce yourself as the person who's going to be handling that interview or that closing call, and just provide a quick review of the conversation that was had on the setting call. So even if this is you did the set and the close, you're doing full cycle sales, this will still work. Basically just highlight their current situation, their problem, their goals, and then ask them to listen to this recording or listen to a video, i.e. a VSL, to give them a little bit more information on how to be prepared and more information on your offer. Okay? If you're just doing this yourself, like you're doing full cycle sales, you can skip this next step. But if you have setters, I would definitely recommend doing this as well. Send a video note, right? Send a video message. Take your phone. Hey, this is Noah. Really excited to hop on our call tomorrow. Again, highlight the value that they're going to receive in the closing call. Maybe do a bit of a review of their current situation, their problems, and their goals. But put a face to the name, because once there's a human aspect to it and not just a random voice or a stranger over the phone, again, the odds of somebody wanting to be perceived consistent increase, show rates go up. Then we're going to want to send the link to your VSL into that group, just as I talked about. Make sure that they're being triaged and nurtured properly for that call so that they can be walked across the line as easily as possible. What next, right? Now we're waiting for the same day confirmation. We're booking same day next day. So first thing in the morning, this is not the setter's responsibility. If you have setters, this is the closer's responsibility. Get back into that personalized WhatsApp for every appointment that you have today, and just copy and paste the following message. Hey Noah, confirming where all systems go for interview today at 4 p.m., right? And just send that. Again, the correlation between a personal SMS response within 24 hours of a sales call and show appointment is around 90 to 95%. So this will definitely help your show rates, just if they respond. Wait for 30 to 60 minutes. If they don't respond, then double dial all the appointments you've scheduled for today who didn't confirm. If they don't pick up, note those ones down. What we're gonna do is repeat the same process for all appointments scheduled for the following day. Anybody who picks up or confirms over SMS, we're actually gonna swap out with anybody who didn't pick up today, and just make sure that we can guarantee shows for those slots as opposed to have them left up to chance. If you have any questions on this, just ask in the comments. I'm happy to clarify, because this was something that took our team a little while to really wrap their heads around. Last but not least, pre-meeting reminder, right? So again, we're gonna hop into that personalized WhatsApp group chat. You can do this over Indoctrination, and we do this with automated SMS, but we still have all of our closers and setters send this manually because, again, more responses on personal messages and more correlation to show rates on responses. So, hey, really excited to chat in 15 minutes today. Here's the meeting link, looking forward to it. Make sure you include the meeting link, that's super important because a lot of the reason why people don't show is just because they don't even know where to go. So just make sure you give them an easy route to show up to that call. Now, into the fun stuff. Follow-up show rates. I didn't actually do this. This is from Cole Gordon. I really like what he did with his follow-up optimization process. So if you want a better video on that, you can search up Cole Gordon follow-up show rate optimization. But in a nutshell, this is what we use, and it allows us to have our 80 to 90% show rates on follow-ups. And that's also why we're able to close $50,000 to $100,000 per closure that we have in our team and new cash collected every month. So just note this. Right? Follow-up calls really should only be booked if the prospect doesn't have access to all the required information for them to make an informed decision on that call. What I mean by this is if you get to the end of the call and somebody's like, I just need to think about it, I need to talk to my wife, they have access to that information, right? Don't book a follow-up with them to let them talk to their wife because that's just a stupid bullshit smokescreen objection. If the person says, listen, I really want to do this, I'm showing you my bank account right now, I got $100 in here, I know that I need $5,000 to start. So what I have to do is go to my bank and get approved for a third-party loan or a business loan. And then I want to book a follow-up with you for tomorrow once I have finalization on that. And even if it doesn't work, I want to figure out a way to make it work. That's a perfect example of a lead that you book a follow-up with. So just make sure that you're using your own opinions to figure out if they're doing this because they have access to all the information and they just want to get off the call with you, or if they don't have access to all the information and they actually need to book a follow-up. So let's say it's the latter. They need to book a follow-up because they don't have access to all the information. The first thing we're going to do is create loops, right? Because the first reason a prospect won't show up to a follow-up call is because they feel like you already have provided them all the value that you have to give, right? And that's a fair assumption because you've run through your whole sales process. You've given them a demo. You've audited their business. You've even told them probably what your prepay option is or how much it costs for your engagement. But there actually still is some information that you can use to leave an open loop. People always want to make sure they have access to all information. They can close loops and close doors. So this is a great way to get them to show up. First is make sure that you provide them information on additional payment and financing options. So keep a little bit of that up your sleeve on the first call if you know that they're probably going to have to book a follow-up. And then save those additional payment options, split pays, financing, whatever you have for that second follow-up. Next are relevant case studies of businesses and people just like them. So what this would sound like at the end of a call is, all right, Noah, let's actually get a call booked in for tomorrow at 5 p.m. I know you said you wanted to think about it. You need to go and find that loan to make this work. Now, before we go our separate ways today, when we do chat next, I'm just going to review a few additional payment and financing options with you so you can make the most informed decision. And I also want to go over 2 specific case studies that were clients of ours in the exact same industry as you and struggling with very similar problems. And I'll be sure to cover exactly what worked with them together and also what kind of ROI it provided for their business and things of that matter with you as well. Sound good? So with this, just really leaving that open loop between payment options and case studies. Now, the other thing that we're going to want to do is remove the pressure because the second reason somebody won't show up on a follow-up is because they just feel the only reason to show up on that call is to make a payment and they don't like that pressure, right? So I know this seems counterintuitive, but we want to completely diffuse and remove that pressure, especially if they're not 100% ready to make a payment because they still have that fear of commitment. So what we're going to say is, and one last thing, right? What I want you to do before tomorrow's call is take some time to review this conversation. I'll even send you the recording and just write down any questions or points of clarification that you're missing so that we can actually cover those tomorrow along with the rest of the information I have to go over with you. And once we get through that, then we can really see if this is something we want to take action on now or if this is something that's better to work toward in the future. Sound good? So if you combine these two together, you should have everything you need to maximize your show rates. Obviously, if you're being a total tool on the call, you're being a dick, you're pressuring in places that you shouldn't, you could implement this and people won't show up. But this is the simple follow framework that we've used to get 75%, 85% plus show rates on our calls. And is the reason why our sales team is able to take care of 95% of the work for us without me actually having to be ever on a sales call. So if you stuck around to the end of this video, I appreciate it. Hopefully it provided some value. The whole reason why I do this in the first place is to help share some of the learnings and lessons that my partner and I have learned the hard way, and also some of the things that are working for us so that you can basically just copy them and also avoid some of the mistakes that we've made so that you can achieve your goals and dreams faster, and ideally motivate you and inspire you to show you that there are other people out here doing business, and there are other people out here doing business transparently. So if you have any questions on the things we covered today, or even anything else, just drop some comments below. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible, and we'll see you in the next one.